Hello and welcome to Get It Started, Get It Done, the Banyan Security podcast covering the security industry and beyond. In this episode, our host and Banyan's Chief Security Officer, Den Jones, speaks with his old pal, fellow music lover, and former colleague Eric Anderson, who's Director of Enterprise Security at Adobe. We hope you enjoyed Den's conversation with Eric Anderson.
Okay, welcome everybody. We have a great episode today, so get it started, get it done. I'm your host, Dan Jones, Banyan's entry into podcasting. So if we suck at software, maybe we're going to fall back on the podcasting business. I have confidence that we can do both though. So today's guest, a good old friend of mine, colleague, friend, mentor, someone I've maybe mentored a little bit, although he'll probably tell you during the show some home truths and otherwise. Eric Anderson from Adobe. So Eric, why don't you introduce yourself?
All right. Well, thanks for having me. I'm Eric Anderson with, as Den said, with Adobe. I'm the Director of Enterprise Security. Been with the company for 27 plus years. So have a lot of experience across the board and all over the place. And yeah, and Den and I go way back.
Awesome. So yeah, let's talk. So let's talk about way back. Do you remember the first time we met and what those circumstances were?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, the first time we met was you and I were both peers on a security team, and not a security team, sorry, an infrastructure team within IT. And one of the senior leaders had left, and you stepped in and said, "Hey, I'd be happy to run that team for you." And so you jumped in and kind of took over as the leader. And then we started getting to know each other from a leader and individual contributor aspect. And we immediately connected on audio. And I think that's usually the core of most of our conversations since.
Yeah. And I kind of remember that conversation that I had with our VP. And I think the way I phrased it was, I'm happy to do this until you find someone better. And I don't know how long it took, but eventually I wasn't doing it any longer. But I think I got involved running that team, which was the source code team. We'd done some server stuff. Yeah. So there was quite a few things on there. And I always remember just trying to get everybody into San Jose. We had our engineering event, like Tech Summit, was it?
Yeah, something it was like the Tech Summit where everybody, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I remember meeting so many people in person for the first time who were all new in the team and stuff, and it was pretty cool. But I just remember it being a bit of a drunk fest, to be honest. I don't quite remember learning much at the Tech Summit, but I certainly remember most of the evenings, or forgot most of the evenings, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say, we had a good time in the evenings down there, so it does blur together over the years.
Yeah, and so you and I have worked together, I think 3 times, but keep me honest here. So yeah, the first time was a reorg when our boss left, and I got the opportunity to kind of run the team for a bit. What was the second and third time? And I think one of them you actually made a choice to join the team. So what stupidity did you get there?
Yeah, I don't know what came over me on that. But yeah, the first time was the reorg where you volunteered to be the leader. The second time was you had moved to service management and you were building an automation team. And I had reached out. I was looking at changing what I was doing. There was a couple roles I was interested in. And so reached out to you and we talked about the automation, which was a passion of mine at the time. And so I joined your team as driving automation in the service management space. And then the third time was when you had been running the enterprise security organization and you had been promoted up to run that org. And I came in and kind of took over from your old role. So unfortunately, I've kind of backfilled you twice as things have turned out.
Yeah, and now you're backfilling me on this role of enterprise security.
Exactly.
So I apologize for what I left you.
Good at
But
cleaning
not.
up. I'm good at cleaning stuff
think-
up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny. You always think you either think you left something in good shape, or you kind of think, well, I never quite got to finish and leave it where I wanted to leave it. But you know, the reality is you're never done, really. Even though this podcast is called "Get It Started, Get It Done." So yeah, so as you're in this hot seat, what does success look like for you and the team? What do you think what do you think "Get It Done" looks like for you?
I think it's interesting, especially in the security world. You're never going to be completely done, but you can certainly make progress and have some milestones to look back on to kind of building a foundation. Like, for instance, a lot of the things we'll probably talk about as we get deeper into this is, around zero trust, building that platform of zero trust, creating a better security platform that you can then use that as a base to start building something else on. So it's like, I kind of view it as security as a program, and then you've got these projects in it, but you're continuously advancing the program forward and getting better at what you're doing. And as we both know, the whole security world is changing. It feels like minute by minute.
Yeah.
So just keeping up with that alone creates a lot of stuff to do.
Yeah, and one thing for me, us working together, I always love it when there's someone that I can trust, right? So for me, working with you, I just always knew like I could trust that you could get it done. Like I was like, this guy gets shit done. We agree as a leadership team the strategy, and then each of the leaders that worked in the team would go off and come up with the tactics and the projects and all the things in order to get that strategy accomplished. And I was always very proud of what we done as an organization. I mean, I think the enterprise security team at Adobe has a kick-ass team. It was a good team. It was a fun team. And it is funny because I met your boss recently at RSA, and he complimented on how good the team was. And I wondered, like, maybe you gave him $20, but then I realized I'm like, no, we had a kick-ass team.
Yeah.
And
we still do. It's like, what was built when that org was formed that you set up, and we're continuing and taking it forward, and we're adding to the team. We're taking on additional roles and projects and improving it, but the culture of it hasn't changed. Everybody's having a good time. Everybody's, we trust each other, which I agree with you. That's probably the most important thing, is having that trust, and all of us then aligned on, our prime directive is to do the right thing. And, it's really hard it's easy to move forward when you're operating in that frame of mind.
And our industry is a results-driven industry, right? So, one of the things that I really enjoyed with us was, we'd create wins on a regular basis. For me personally, running an organization where you might have like 8 teams or 5 teams, but every single month there's something that one of the teams is delivering on that you get to brag about, and the team feel proud about it, right? So, and I just always thought that enables me to have a good excuse to have a happy hour, or maybe do a team building event. And we done some great team building events over the years. I was thinking, reflecting back, especially during COVID when you weren't able to do any of those things, right? Everything from, we don't know, the scavenger hunt round in Seattle. So explain to everybody, what was that scavenger hunt?
Oh, right. So the scavenger hunt, we happened to do an offsite in Seattle, where I'm from here. And we caught it on a beautiful 3 days like we have today. It's 80 degrees out, beautiful, not a cloud in the sky. And there's a company called the Electric Boat Company down on the lake that is in it's in Lake Union, with a view of the Space Needle, and the Adobe office building is on one end of it. And so we took a couple electric boats out, which I think go a whopping 4 knots or something. So they're slow, but lots of beverages and food on them. You break into 2 boats, and they give you a scavenger hunt to identify things around the lake, like a bridge and the date it was built, or finding a house and take a picture of it, of one of the houseboats. And so it was kind of fun, a great competition, and we're on walkie-talkies heckling each other back and forth. And but it was a really fun event, and I think the weather made it pretty awesome, being out on the water in amazing weather.
The weather was good. Now I'm just sitting there thinking, I have a picture of that.
Oh,
So
you do?
let me see, because I stumble on these, and it's funny because so we had that. We also January we done the first week back after break. We'd go to Utah, and we'd go to Park City, right? So
Right.
that for me, that was the fun one, and the way I liked this was each of the leaders in the team were in different locations. So like San Jose, Seattle, Ottawa, and Lehigh, and then we'd arrange these things. You know, we'd say, okay, we're going to do the offsite, and whoever city we went to, they had to plan the offsite and the team building event. So everyone was trying to one up each other. So yeah, I've almost got to where this picture is, but it was cool because we done snowmobiles. I think that was the very last team building event we done, and we ended up doing snowmobiles, which I think was just brilliant, you know. So
Yeah,
here
that was one of the most fun we had.
Oh yeah, look at that.
There you go. You've even got, because what you didn't reveal is you were one of the captains of the aforementioned boats. So yeah, so we got you with your captain's hat on, and we're all out there with the beverages. I do see bottles of wine. We had Shalini, Benzie, and Todd in our boat. And that was our team.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
We won. I just remember we won. That's all I.
Okay, I'm gonna go with that. Since you and I are the only ones bloody here, we won. So anyone needs to check that shit. We won. Now you said this. We connected a lot over the years just on music. We have both this huge passion. So why don't you share, like, what is your music journey, and what is it that you get excited about music wise?
My music journey has more been, I would claim that I have zero creative talent in music. I've got big chubby hands that can't play guitar no matter how many times I've tried. I can't play a keyboard because I can't spread my fingers out. So I've just settled in on loving to listen to music. I consider myself somewhat of a attempted audiophile and trying to chase the best sounding recordings and the like. But yeah, ever since I was, even back in high school and junior high, I was the guy that was always bringing new music in because I'd come to Seattle. I grew up in Eastern Washington, which was about a year behind everybody else and what was playing on the radio. So I'd come to Seattle to visit my grandparents, bring my tape deck and a box of tapes, and I'd record the radio and come back and then be the guy bringing different music. So I was the one that was running all the dances and all the stuff around schools. And then when I came to Seattle for college, I fell into radio. So I was working at some of the local radio stations being a producer. The one that people probably would remember, especially if they're from this area, was I worked at a station called KXRX in the late 80s and 90s, which was a rock station that broke a lot of bands. And then I was in the original crew that started The End, which was 107.7 here in Seattle. And bands that you may know, like Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, we were the station that played all of them the first time, and got to spend a lot of time hanging out with everybody in the scene at that time when Seattle was what it was. Unfortunately, I was the guy that was listening to all the music where you're from, Den. I was more into the bands like the Soup Dragons and the Charlatans UK and all these kind of synth kind of rock bands coming out of the UK compared to all the grunge scene going on here.
That's funny. You get to hang out with all the grunge people, but you're not listening to much of their stuff because you're like,
no.
I'm into the Charlatans right now. me and the Happy Mondays.
Yeah. The Farm. Farm too.
Farm, right? Yeah. I have vinyl, the Farm 12-inch of vinyl of one of their tunes. I think is like All Together Now. I think that's the
Yeah.
big one that they had. Now talking about vinyl, I do have hidden between me and the speaker a vinyl, maybe just there if you can see it. Do you recognize that vinyl?
Is that maybe something I may have bequeathed to you somewhere along the way?
No, I
You don't have
paid
you
over
don't
the
have all
price.
the stocks of Erasure albums I sent you.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is you send me a whole bunch of stuff, and then I also like have other people that have given me vinyl over the years because they're like, I don't have a record player.
Yeah.
No, that's a David Bowie album that I got
Oh, I did see
like
that earlier. Yeah.
months
Yeah.
ago. Yeah. And behind it is the other one with the triangle cutout or the star cutout or whatever. Because it's really funny because um, I have a little bit more musical talent than you. If you say you've got none, I've got a little bit, but clearly not enough because I'm still working doing IT and security and stuff. So I'm not a famous pop star. Um, but I got into like I people always thought I was a DJ, which is kind of bullshit because I done wedding discos and stuff when I was about 14, but I was never really a DJ. I was never a club DJ. Although now I have all the decks, like I've got some really nice gear, and I collect vinyl. I just sold my CD collection actually.
Oh,
I
good
took
for
it to
you.
Streetlight and gave them 1,500 CDs. Yeah, so 1,500 CDs, and I got back in return a gift certificate for their store because I said to them like, "Don't give me money, just give me store credit because I know you're
Yeah.
going to give me more credit than you would money, right?" So I just instantly turned 1,500 CDs into something like 40 vinyl.
Yeah. It's
I don't
hilarious
know.
because I did the same thing about a month ago. It wasn't 50, it was about 300 CDs, and it translated about 5 or 6 vinyl albums. But
Yeah. Now we've got so in our family, so your son, he's also following in the footsteps of the love for music. So why don't you share with people who he
yeah,
is and what he's doing?
so my son Cooper is he's a hip hop rap or hip hop beat producer, and he's been pretty successful at it. For those interested, you could find him at his his um, his hip hop name is Contraband. So you can find him at Prod Contraband. So producer Contraband. And he's done, he's 21, doing that kind of full time, and I'm super proud of him. He's been he very successful in my eyes, probably in his eyes. He's just starting out, but he's been lucky enough to have a few songs charted all over the world, and he's been able to use that to get him some fun gear and keep him going forward for now as he's finding his way into how does the music career turn into something that he can do full time, in the real world. I think as both of us know, being in and out of the music business, it's a major roller coaster. So you got to get it when it's going up, and then figure out how you hang on to that on the downs.
Yeah, and it's cool. I mean, for me, seeing that he gets to do it and that's his full-time gig and he's enjoying it and he's being paid for it. I mean, I
Yeah.
think a lot of people don't realize like getting paid to actually write music is sometimes a hard thing to figure out because you've got so many unscrupulous people out in the music business that they and listeners that don't want to pay for music.
Yeah.
So even the streaming services, they don't really exactly pay much, which is why a lot of bands end up doing very expensive gigs and concerts. The price of a ticket has gone through the roof now just to go see a band because that's their main income stream for a lot of these artists. So it's pretty crap, yeah. And my son, he's been getting into DJing a little bit. He's getting into producing. He's playing the saxophone. My daughter's got a guitar, which every now and again she'll pick up, but I don't think she's got that same love that I have, or maybe my son's gonna have.
She'll maybe
But
be
yeah,
a costume designer for a band along the way or something with her love of fashion.
Yeah, that's one thing, Katie's got a big fashion thing going on, and art's a big thing for her. And so she wants to be involved in the arts in some way. So, we'll see how that plays out. A lot of people that go to LA, they begin their artist career waiting tables. So, I'm trying
Yeah.
to make sure she's at least good at that, something to
Yeah,
fall
the
back on.
fashion business is probably just as vicious as the music business, and you got to
Yeah.
be for it.
Yeah. Now here's so work wise, how do you explain what you do to people like your parents or other people that are maybe not in the IT or security space?
Usually, I talk about my first seed is that I tell them I run a cyber security team, and see if they decide to ask a further question. A lot of the times that's good enough for them, and they just kind of move on, right? But if they do start digging into it, the way I usually explain it is our job is to protect the employees. And so I'll talk about, imagine you're at your job and you're logging into stuff and you're putting in your password, you're doing multi-factor, or you're looking up things, and your device, making sure it's protected with malware on it. That's where our team that's our bread and butter, is making sure employees are protected for the devices and the tools they're using, and making sure we're also then protecting the data for Adobe that they're accessing, and make sure that that's got the protections around it. So it's really, it's making sure employees are safe in what they're doing internally.
Awesome. And when you think of like one of the career learnings that you've had, what would you say is advice to young aspiring people in the industry that they're trying to figure out the best way for them to stand out in their career?
I think one of the biggest things for me has been always be curious and never put yourself, paint yourself in the corner, so to speak. Because I see it quite often where people feel tied to a certain technology or a certain area, or they want to, they have this kind of tunnel vision that this is what they think it should be. And having that open mind and being curious and asking questions, and I know it sounds cliche, but kind of thinking outside the box, it opens up all kinds of doors that you can discover ways to find something you're passionate about. And I think, I look at both you and I, we didn't start in security, and my years at Adobe, I've done everything from being on the phone supporting customers directly, to writing code, to service management and automation, and now into security. And all those little bits and pieces are like building blocks that give me a unique perspective that if I had planned it out, I would have never have planned it to turn out this way, because I don't think it would have occurred to me back then.
Yeah, it's funny. I just had lunch with an ex-colleague from Adobe, and our conversation was on about her career and where does she go. And it's like, yeah, I always thought like, where do I want to be in 5 years? But quite often you don't know where you want to be in 5 years. You kind of, I mean, I had a decent thought in my head probably about 10 years ago, like I want to be a CSO somewhere. Like I knew that I wanted to run my own security team, and that has a plan on what I do as I go into retirement. So I was always thinking about that. And I was saying to her, I was like, you don't, if you don't really know, then the next best thing is you can look at other leaders around you or other people around you that are doing jobs that you're kind of interested in. And I always remember Joy, Jerry's chief of staff in Adobe, when she was there, and she'd done a really good job of running a program team, the operations, business operations, and but really what she was she was grooming, being groomed and grooming herself for the role of a CIO,
Yeah.
and that's the role she's now got. And I think it's good when you see leaders around you that, and I with Raji, I said to her, I was like, oh, you should think of that as an example, because we don't always know. And as you say, you and I, we didn't start off in security, or I didn't think of identity as a security
Yeah.
gig. Now I think of identity as the front line of security, really. But in 1996, I was a Novell guy doing stuff about servers and identities and networking with IBM 4 meg token rings and shit like that. And there was no way in the world. All I wanted to do was say, I want to be an engineer. That was
Right.
about it. I was a technician, and I could only see the next step up. I want to be an engineer. And I think, we've been really fortunate. I mean, certainly like in Adobe, blessed to be able to move around and see other opportunities. But I think the one theme behind it is you and I, we're the kind of people that we don't shy away from stuff, and we're happy to take on harder things that a lot of people would sometimes run away from. But then ultimately we're always looking to find out how can we help and how can we do more. And I think that's one of the themes for me is like, you've been blessed because in the end, people want to work with smart people that get shit done. I mean, I kind of look at it like that.
Well, then I would
maybe
add to it that kind of is the running theme through all that as well, is doing the right thing on top of it all. Because, if something's hard, but it's the right thing to do and you can see where it's going to go, it's easy to get behind it and put passion into it and, build enthusiasm around it. And so, and recognizing that along the way and making sure, we're recognizing folks that are doing great work and encouraging and doing those kind of things, kind of those soft skills that I think sometimes fall away.
Yeah, it's funny because I've always been the world's worst, and you know this because you've known me for a long time as I tried to be a good manager, right? And one of my struggles has always been recognizing, like I'm always good at let's do a happy hour, let's do a team build, and let's do a social event. But at the end of it, say no, thank you very much for doing blah. Never my strong point. I was very quick, and I'm always very quick to go, oh, that could have been better, or I'd like that done yesterday. But then at the end of it, you kind of need to sit back and say, well, wait a minute, we are kicking ass and taking names, and recognize people for the right behaviors. I think is really good advice.
I think it's a hard thing to learn too, because especially like you and I that are very focused on getting shit done. You're always focused on, all right, we've done this and we're very quick to move on to the next, or you've got four of them going at once. And so taking that pause is always hard to remember to do it because we're so focused on keeping going.
Yeah. And it's, as well, you get paid really to think about the future of the company and drive the future fast and, forward fast. And at the end of it, people like you and I, we line things up. We might not even have told anybody, but by the time you finish your thing, I've got 3 other things ready for you. So it's not always there. Now we've joined each other many times for dinners and drinks and stuff. So when we're celebrating that success, the getting it done business, what's your favorite drink?
Oh, my favorite drink. You're setting me up because you know what it is.
I know what it is, but I don't think the audience of your mother, my mother, doesn't know.
My go-to drink is always a Mai Tai. And the reason why I do that is number one, I love a good Mai Tai, but it tells me what kind of bar we're in. Because if I'm kind of a purist on the Mai Tai front, where it's it's the good old fashioned original Trader Vic's version that's like 4 ingredients. If I go to a bar and they pour me one of those, I know they understand cocktails. But if I go to another one and they pour me the slushy drink with a umbrella and a pina colada glass, then I know what kind of a bar I'm in for that too. So I know which direction to go after that.
I remember we done a bocce ball team building event in Los Gatos a while back. And then afterwards, we went out for a nice fancy dinner, but we went to the bar next door. And I remember you got a Mai Tai, and it was in like one of those old ceramic tiki cups and all that kind of shit.
Yeah,
I don't remember if you liked it or I just remembered that was
Yeah. But
that
then I'll
was
go
that.
the other way too, because you and I could probably, the other thing I love is a really good dive bar. So the divier, the better. And
Yeah.
I have learned over the years I should probably not bring my coworkers to a bar like that if they're not used to it.
We remember a Vegas trip where
Yeah,
I think at one point I suggested to you, and your cousin Casey was there because he loves to sing karaoke and stuff, and he's a good singer. And I remember we went off the strip, found this really dive bar, and I
yeah,
can't remember all the factions of people that were there, but certainly the Adobe multicultural crowd were not fitting in very well, and several of them suggested we should leave, and they were feeling a bit
yeah,
scared.
yeah.
So that
So
was
that was a good lesson learned. Let's just make sure with if we're doing a work event, let's not go someplace that could be considered a little sketchy or dodgy.
yeah. When you're doing work events, the diviest dive bar is probably not the bar you want to take your coworkers
Yeah,
to. I
exactly.
mean, I didn't feel threatened in any way, but when two or three of the people you're with come up to you and you're like the leader of the most the highest up on the pecking order, I guess, and you kind of feel some responsibility to not have anyone killed that night.
Yeah,
So I didn't
yeah,
think that was going to happen, but when people feel uncomfortable, you kind of want to
absolutely.
get
But yeah,
get out and dodge. Now,
yeah.
as we wrap things up, I'd say one takeaway for the listeners. So, what would be one thing, one piece of advice that if you wanted the audience to take away, either from our conversation or just in general, what would that be?
I think if we're gonna, kind of bringing it back to kind of business and work and getting things done is, and I'll kind of tie it back into the story you and I both know really well about us and our zero trust journey is you need to start somewhere and don't think you need to come up with a full solution in order to move forward. We all get caught up in that boil the ocean syndrome and you just kind of freeze. So start with the little things. Come up with a couple small little things accomplishments you can get done, and just go and start doing it. And then build upon your successes. And I know it sounds basic, but I've seen it time and time again, and we experience it. I'm still going through some of it today, where it's like everybody wants to have this big fancy final product in place, and it's like we could probably do some really great stuff if we really kind of dial it back into manageable chunks. And so, the piece I would push back on that within too is challenge your leaders on that. So come back in, don't be afraid to challenge. If we've built this environment of trust and respect and doing the right thing, I look to everybody to, call bullshit on me and let's figure it out.
Yeah. And it's, one thing I used to always say is, is what we've done going to leave us better off than we were yesterday?
Exactly.
So, perfection's the arch enemy of completion, right? So the reality is, and I have never seen a perfect project. Like I've never left any project thinking, well, that was perfect. I mean, along the ways, there's trials and tribulations, and you're in the trench together, really. So, yeah, I just like to see incremental progress, but ideally a good pace.
Yeah.
And park feedback if you think that feedback can hold until after you've done that next launch, and then you can entertain it.
Yeah. Well,
So,
and I think the parking the feedback part is interesting too, because if you've built that trust with your team, when you do tell them that, they'll go, all right, I'll trust you this round and we'll see. And then you come back to it and you revisit it. And that actually feeds in and builds the trust.
Yeah.
I think.
And I remember, it's funny, when I got to Cisco, Josephina, who I know that you've I think had some level of interaction with, I said to her, lead this effort, and a couple of bits of advice, and one of them was, you don't need to listen to anybody. Just lead the team and get version 1 out the door, And any bit of feedback, you're welcome to entertain it and fold it in if you think that's what makes sense. But don't fold it in at the cost of delivering this thing quick. I
Right.
said, because you can improve this thing once you deliver version 1, but you'll never deliver version 1 if all you're doing is getting caught up in answering people's questions and responding to their feedback. So you got to kind of be really thoughtful about that balance.
Well, I think there's a good lesson to be learned, especially in the startup world, and with that philosophy. Maybe at the time when we were doing it, we weren't thinking startup, but I know now, in your experience, you've probably seen more of it. But just minimal viable product, get something that you can start building on, and it's not going to be perfect, and nobody expects it to be.
Yeah, I mean, we were pretty blessed because we ran our team in Adobe, especially kind of like a startup. You know, we weren't exactly asking a lot of permission, and we were running forward really fast on all fronts. So for me, that was great because we didn't have a lot of bureaucracy when we were doing the enterprise security team. So Eric, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Great catching up. Ideally, next time it'll be in person with dinner and drinks in hand, and shoot the shit over probably a Mai Tai for you, but more likely a beer for me. I'm
fine with that too. That's fine. Yeah. Unless you want to do a Mai Tai challenge, and we can see what you can come up with. But
no, I'd be fine just with a beer.
Well, thanks for having me. A lot of fun.
Always fun. Always great to see what kind of new fancy background you're going to do, because every time we're on a video call, you just have another little bit of gear there. And the acoustic stuff is different. I think over to the left you've got your shelves and stuff. So I don't know, but I always see there's something always new to look at. I just need to kind of stepping up my gear buying.
Yeah, the towels are gone now, so that means you're actually touching the gear.
So well, I take the towels off really when I record the podcast or when I touch the gear. So otherwise, people just think I've got surfboards.
I know, exactly. I always have to remember, wait, Den doesn't surf. Those are keyboards with colorful towels.
Yeah, Den does not. I do not surf. I am not. This is not the body of a surfer. So, yeah. Cool, man. Thanks, Eric. Great catching up. Have a great weekend. Take it easy, everybody. See ya.
Thanks for listening. To learn more about Banyan Security and find future episodes of the podcast, please visit us at banyansecurity.io. Special thanks to Urban Punks for providing the music for this episode. You can find their track Summer Silk and all their music at urbanpunks.com.